We'd like to welcome each and every individual to the Voices of Integrity podcast for interesting personalities in pickleball. And so Mike and I have just known each other for a couple weeks, probably has been, had a few conversations, less than a handful of them. And so this is Mike's first podcast, I think, right, Mike?
Yes.
Yeah, and so he asked it before. You always come early, always stay late if you can, as a general rule, because the most interesting things happen before we record and after we record the podcast. But he was noticing something, and like, you got a blurred background. He doesn't. I said, yeah, because you got a really cool background. So tell us what you have in the background there, Mike.
Well, I've got over my right shoulder is a grouse, rough grouse tail. That's kind of how it's actually two tails. They'll fan it out like that. The males will when they're mating or trying to draw attention to a female. And so I hunt those up in the Upper Peninsula, Michigan, with my buddy, my best friend, and so we've been, so I just made a thing like that on a piece of wood I had. Over my left shoulder is a deer hide that. Actually, I got that deer up in the UP as well. And I have a lot of duck decoys and, I don't know how many.
Are you a pretty big hunter then?
No, not, short around here, deer season, I go up there in October and November. I try to, for October for birds, for the grouse, November for deer.
Gotcha.
But as I get older, it's just more for fun. We just have fun to get around and go up there.
Right. Right. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Mike. Anything you want. It could be marriage. It could be kids. It could be, grandkids. It could be your occupation, what you did, just anything to get to know you a little bit better.
Yeah. Well, out of high school, didn't know what I wanted to do. So my dad had electrical business, and it was Ron Bailey Electric. So went to work for him. Next thing I know, he's wanting to retire. And so I bought his business from him and ran it for 20 some years. When I turned 60, I had two different companies want to buy it. And I was just a small business with only a couple, 2-3 employees, but, they bought me out, and I was to work for them for 5 years and then retire. Well, I wasn't good at working with other people. Working for other people, I was too used to working on my own.
Right.
And so they canceled my non-compete, and my guys stayed there and love it. And they're great. They're a great company as well. So it was a good win-win. I'm married. I have 2 kids. Each of them have families. I have 4 grandkids, and the two. My son and his family are living with us right now, and their boys play sports. They're pretty athletic, so spend a lot of time at the right now baseball field and or basketball with the younger one. My daughter and her kids, and her husband, they're in band. My granddaughter, however, is in volleyball, and we enjoy going and watching her play that. So yeah, it's pretty much a fast track.
How old is your granddaughter?
She is 15.
Okay.
So she's gonna do her light permit this year. Try to work on that. And my older grandsons just turned 17.
Okay.
They're 4 days apart, and then my younger one is 14.
Nice. Well, one of my favorite sports is volleyball. And so it'd be fun to have you guys come over, especially with your granddaughter. It's cool to go out and see young, active, and see if I can still keep up with them.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It is fun.
It's a lot of fun. So in pickleball, how long have you been doing pickleball?
Actually, I got introduced to it. It would be 4 years ago. Okay. We were only down in Florida. We went to Florida, and actually the people that bought my business, they go in this same park we were at. Yeah, that's how we found it. And so we were there a few weeks and saw, the number of pickleball courts they had indoor and out, and we just were like, wow. So they kind of showed us a little bit. We bought really cheap pair of paddles and had no idea what a good ball or bad ball was. So that was the start. But then the next year we were in Bradenton, and really they had lights, so we were able to go out at night, and had a couple, 2 or 3 guys that were patient, and they played at night because it was just more low key. So they really taught us a lot.
Okay.
And we ended up moving to a park with them, one of the couples. And for the last 2 years, we've been playing and pretty much play every day for 2 or 3 hours. I started to get good enough that because they were getting invited to another a park about a half hour away. So in fact, the one guy, he probably was the best player, was at our park, and ended up moving to this other park. But he told my friend Charles from Canada, he said, he goes, I really think Mike should come to this other place with us. He goes, would you ask him? And Charles goes, no, you ask him. And so it was a back and forth. Finally, Steve come up to me. He was kind of shy, like, he goes, hey, you want to go with us? And I go, yeah. So anyways, that really made me feel good, and went there, and I felt like I could keep up, and like playing with you, Mark, and some of the others. I love playing with better people, and that's how I learn. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm hooked. So my goal is to stay healthy so I can keep going.
Nice. Nice. All right. So what do you think, Mike? What do you think you enjoy most about pickleball?
Um, well, I've never been shy of people, so it's a great way to meet people. It's interesting to find out what they like and don't like, maybe, and more like is what I like to find out. But just like playing at the Aquatic Center this year, met a guy, can't think of his name, but he likes old cars. And I forget what he's got, but I've got an old 56 Chevy pickup. And so he's been trying to get me to come out with him to, like Essen House or something like that. And it just, so that's a lot of fun, right? That in itself. Beyond that, I just like being able to get out and get moving and stay physical and that sort
Right.
of thing. I used to play basketball. I know that was just harder on my body, I think. I didn't like stepping on the side of people's ankles and stuff like that, and had a few of those. So, but anyways, that's what I really like about it. I like the competition once again, and
Does
just
your
meeting
wife
people.
play too?
She does. She's not. She would say, even though I have more confidence in her than she does,
Right.
she would. I feel like she could keep up with us somewhat there. She
Hmm.
would feel like she doesn't want to.
Right.
She just wants to go out and have fun, and and great. But down in Florida, the last couple of weeks, finally got her to come out, and everybody that we were playing with, women, men, all of them were like, "Why didn't you come out early?" You know. So she's a good ping pong player. In fact,
Oh,
it's very aggravating to me when I play her because she normally wins because I get impatient, and she'll just return a regular shot to me every time I do it, and then I'm trying to slam it and I miss the table. So
right.
she's pretty consistent. So that's
Nice.
the yeah.
Well, my dad, this is my third year that I've been playing. And so first time I played was at First Baptist Church in Elkhart.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, I'd seen it, but I'd never played, and I had slip-on shoes, which I don't recommend playing pickleball
No.
with slip-on. But when I told them that it was the first time I'd ever played, they're like, "Holy cow, you are like really good at it." So I'd played, a lot of ping pong growing up.
Yeah.
So my mom and dad actually met at college, and first time they saw each other, they played ping pong. And my mom's story is different from my dad's story. My mom's story is that my dad went easy on her and let her get too far ahead, then she won and beat him the
Yeah.
first.
Yeah.
And so, and then played tennis and stuff like that. And so pickleball it's such a unique sport on
Yes.
how it's very inexpensive to do. and it's, you can get it and you can go and play for a half an hour, you can play for 4 hours,
Right.
and you can meet some really interesting people. And I think that's one of the things with the book my wife and I have written on pickleball changed our lives. And then doing these types of interviews, it's interesting to me how you can play for even a couple years with people and not really get to know them,
Yeah.
or you could go ahead and meet, and within a couple times you go you get to know them really fast,
Right.
like you and I. And so
Yeah.
I don't know, we strike up a conversation and all of a sudden we're talking about some pretty deep things. And um, I think that a lot of times um, people are maybe afraid of going and having deep conversations. And
Yeah.
so
I would agree with that.
I don't know if you know Sophia um, over at Beacon. And so I don't know. She's 21 years old. And she had played a number of times, and she's fun to play with and against and all that kind of stuff. And so we just joked around and stuff. And then after one time we were on a Saturday and we were talking, and we ended up talking for an hour and a half.
Wow.
And I don't know, like 10, 15 minutes, like I'm asking her questions. I'm
Sure.
like, as I told you today, I love people. I just don't like them. I just,
Yeah.
they just irritate me a lot.
Sure.
And so, but I love going deep with people, which is kind of
Sure.
fascinating. Like if I can go deep with somebody, then it's just, I don't know. To me, it's just, it has significance. And so she caught me off guard because she asked a really deep and penetrating question. Like, I mean, it was bare. I just rip it off. I mean, we're talking, and it's in front of everybody. So are you a good dad?
Wow.
And I said, no, actually, I suck. I think as a dad. So I wasn't expecting her. I wasn't
Her to do
expecting.
that.
I
Yeah.
wasn't, and I don't think she was expecting my response.
Probably not.
And so, but we ended up talking for over an hour, maybe an hour and a half. And she's just got a cool story. There's parts of it, like with all of us, there's parts of
Sure.
it that's hard. And so, do you have any suggestions, Mike, on, for people on going deep? How do you go deep? How do you get deep faster if people, or maybe like somebody's like they don't want to go deep?
Right.
Well,
Right.
let's
Well,
cover first those that want to go deep. Like if you want to go deep, like how do you do that?
well, it made it easy for you in that instance because she asked you the question.
Right.
Um, well, I honestly, Mark, I feel like I have to get to know them a little bit. Or I'll just look for, listen for key things they may say. Um, One thing I try to do is I try to hear what their interest is. And then whether I'm interested or not, I may try to talk about it or know of somebody else who was interested in that and bring that into the conversation so that people will then talk about themselves. And the more they talk about themselves, the more you can learn and the more maybe you go deeper. Um, I found that, and I don't do that intentionally try to get into somebody's life, obviously, but I've just found that to work. Whether it's a customer of mine, whether it's just try to get to know them better, that sort of thing. So I think that's worked for me.
And I
But
think like with you and I, like you owned your own company, I own my companies. And so
right,
so I think as a business owner, you learn to do that. You learn to be interested in your customers and whatever. That's just
right,
good for business.
right.
It's like,
Well, that was our connection.
right. And I don't know, it wasn't too long. And you said, yeah, I mean, and there's like I find that, like I tell people, like I'm a 3-year-old boy. I just am curious, and I probably
Sure.
might ask some inappropriate questions. I don't know. Like, why can't I ask that? My wife is like, "You're 62, Mark. you should know by now you can't ask those kind of why not? Like, why
Right.
can't you do that? Well, you gotta get to know people. Why? I mean, that's how you get to know people. So I was fascinated. Like I knew, I'm like, yeah, Mike and I we're gonna probably have more than one podcast because like it didn't take long to say, oh, I had a paper out. I'm like, me too.
Right.
Like,
Right.
I think they've taken away paper outs from kids, and that was one of the best things for entrepreneurialism. Like you and I shared some stories about, paper out horror stories.
Yes, that's right.
And so, for me, for me, um, there was somebody that we play with, Mike and I play with, and she had a friend who was, I think, 64, and he just died. I mean, just boom, and he was in great health, and he just died. And she and I were talking afterwards, and I said, when my mom died a number of years ago, I said the thing that I love most about death is that it seems to awaken people, like
Hmm.
to the significance of life. She's
Right.
like that, that's so true. And it's like my mom, she was on hospice, and so we knew that she was going to pass. And she's like, she was a funny lady. So my dad died about a year before she did, and both of them were in great health and ate well and were really healthy. And then
Oh,
boom, at mid 70s, they were just both taken. So my dad actually died a year before my mom. And so I started, having a date with my mom after my dad died because they had been married for 55 years. So I said, hey, what's it like to be, married for 55 years and then have your spouse taken? Like so she and I
right.
used to date, once a week, and we had just really cool, fun times. But she was so funny. She'd be like, at my funeral, like people are going to get up and say all kinds of really nice things about me because she had been to funerals. She was a pastor's wife, so my dad was a pastor. And she's
Sure.
like, that seems really kind of stupid to me. I'm dead. Like, why don't they come and why don't they tell me before I
Right.
die?
Yeah. Right. Right.
And it's like,
Um,
Mom, that actually makes a lot of sense.
right.
Um, but people don't. And so um, I think you're right on asking things. I think now maybe the better question is for you that are listening to the podcast and you say, I don't want to go deep.
Mm.
And so, Karen, we're going to put some pressure on her, nice pressure. She really wants to do a podcast. She's a little nervous. If you're
Okay.
watching this and you're nervous, like this is Mike's first podcast. He's never done one before. He's doing great. Like it's not really that hard. You just talk.
No.
It's fine. Um,
Right.
but Karen, I'm playing pickleball, and she and her sister ganged up on me, and they're like, Mark, you're not smiling. I'm like, is that a problem? like, and they're like, yeah, you got to smile. I'm like, why? I mean, I'm here to play pickleball. And so,
Right.
so I thought about that a lot, and I'm like, why don't you smile? And Kofi Adam, he was from Africa, did an internship probably 20 years ago with us. And
Wow.
so he played volleyball at the church with me. And he
Okay.
came up afterwards and he's like, Mark, you don't smile. I'm like, is there a problem with like, why does everybody want you to smile? So I'm like, is that a problem? He's like, well, Jesus smiled. I'm like, well, actually, the Bible says Jesus wept. It doesn't say
That's
Jesus
right.
smiled.
That's
Like,
right.
being raised Baptist, these things. He says,
Right.
well, no, we know Jesus smiled. I'm like, well, how do you know that? Like, I'm like, the Bible doesn't, I'm not saying he didn't. How do you know that? He says,
Yeah.
because the
Right.
little children came up to him, and little children won't come up to somebody if they're not smiling. I'm like, whoa, dang, that's really good. I've never thought of that before. But then people might, if I smile, people might think I'm nice. And if
Sure.
they think I'm nice, then they're going to come up and talk to me. And then when they talk to me, then I'm going to talk to them, and then I'm going to go deep with them, and then I'm going to, then I'm going to want them to change my life, and then I'm going to change their life, and then we're going to have all these things, and it's like, so I'd rather have somebody just watch podcasts of me and then determine, like, do I really? and I don't know about you, Mike, I get tired, and I do between 15 and 25 podcasts a week. So
Wow.
yeah,
Okay.
I do a lot and have done thousands of them over the last couple decades. So I share a lot of stories, and I don't know if you're like me, but I get tired of telling people the same story about me. Like
Sure.
I don't really want to talk about me, but the
Right.
stories help people to realize, oh, this he's a strange one. And
Yeah.
so my granddaughter, she and I hang out. She's 8 years old, JoJo. She's one
Oh,
of
fun.
six, soon to be seven in the family, and she has a twin sister. So she and I go to Shipshewana, northern Indiana, and we go on a business. We go out to a business coffee, and
Oh,
uh,
sure.
and she loves to hang out with Grandpa and another gentleman, three other gentlemen actually that are in their 80s and they're business guys. And I don't know why she just loves hanging out with us. And so last week on the way home, she was reading the pickleball book. She's like, Grandpa, you and Grandma have written the book. Yep. So how did it change your lives? How's pickleball changed your life? And I talked about that, and she's like, okay, that makes sense, Grandpa. And I'm like, okay. And she says, and in here it says that you're strange, Grandpa. Hey, you're strange. And yeah. She's like, why do you say that? And I said, well, honey, there's this and this. And she's like, okay, well, I don't think you're strange, Grandpa. She
Wow.
only has two grandpas. So it's like
Right.
everybody's grandpa. Nah, he's a little bit different. And so for those people who don't want to go deep, what would you say to them, Mike?
Well, you mean if they came out and said they didn't want to go deep, or just
No,
you had the idea that they didn't?
my guess is that most people that don't want to go deep probably aren't going to tell you, but they're like,
Right. Um, we have. I'm going to talk about Canadians because that's a lot of people we hang out with in Florida. But
okay,
there's the one couple. They politically wouldn't have my views, and so you could go deep in that if you really wanted to. That's not the type of thing you're really talking about, maybe. But I feel like I have to back off a little bit,
see,
come in it from a different angle. Okay, maybe ask them. I might ask them why.
right. See,
Um,
people that have different political views or religious views or any views than me, the more radically different they are, and like if somebody's an atheist and they don't believe in God, I'm just
right,
intrigued by that. Like,
sure,
why do you believe that? How'd you come to that? Like for
correct,
me, when somebody has a different perspective, different experience, I'm actually more interested and more curious about them than if they have the same background that I do, because I
right,
want to understand them. And what's interesting is what I have found is when I'm interested in them, like I have a
hmm,
number of Muslim friends, and so that's pretty different than Christians.
sure,
But when
right,
I'm interested in them, they're interested in me, and you find commonality and you find other types of things. And so I guess my advice, if you think you don't want to go deep, is you haven't gone deep with the right people. Like I'm
sure,
just, so Mike, he's somebody you can go deep with. I'll vouch for him. Super nice guy. He's not going to judge you. I mean,
not at
seriously,
all.
like, he's put up with me for a couple weeks. And so, that says a lot about him. And um, so I think I would encourage you to go deep, because I think
Yeah,
the depth, like I was telling Mike today, I have four levels of friends. Level one friend, you'll like me. You just
sure,
will. I'm a charmer. I'm interested in personalities and like people. It's just fascinating to me.
right, right,
Level two is you won't like me. So I'll say something that challenges you, something that might be different than your viewpoint, and so you might not like me. And I'm okay with that too, because there's 8 billion people. I don't know.
yeah,
There,
right,
so I might not like you, but that doesn't mean that we can't play pickleball together, and it doesn't make it
right,
even a more exciting game.
sure,
and and we can. And level three is you'll love me, I'll love you, and level four is our life visions. if you can get to a vision level, like you were created to be something amazing.
That's right.
You just were. Um, and I see that in you, and that's really special to me. So
Hmm.
if we get to a life vision, like what were you created for? What's your life vision? Like what's your purpose in life? Like if I can find that out, then that connects into my life vision. And when you're traveling at a frequency of a life vision, when your life vision is bigger than death, you just get over stuff. You
Sure.
can do things that are just absolutely amazing. And the differences that we have, I mean, pickleball, if you're a good ding shot or slam, I mean, pickleball unites us all. And so it's it's
That's correct.
really it's really interesting, and it's cool and it's fun to play.
Right.
Um, any other personal things that you would share? Well, anything closing that loop there, any
Yeah.
suggestions on people who
Yeah.
might
Yeah.
not want to go
When
deep?
I thought of Mark was in bringing up that Canadian fellow, for example, or a couple. What I try to do then, if I feel like it's not going to go a certain direction, then what ended up doing was we started talking about his boat because he loves boats.
Okay.
And oh, there you are. Okay. And then so I ended up he has this dinghy, it's like a extra boat in case your boat goes down. And I bought one and he goes, yeah, and so we just connected that way. And so I try to find that that's kind of like a sideways loop, if you will. And then next thing you know, you can still have conversations. Okay. So I I like I like people in that regard finding out. I love to be able to, even though I feel like something's not going right with a conversation, I love to be able to find ways to make it go. Okay. And I sometimes I struggle the most with my wife doing
Right.
that.
How long have you guys been married?
uh, no, that's a very good question, and I should know that we were married in '79, so it's like 47 years, something like that. Yeah,
7 years. Yeah.
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 So, a long time, and like all marriages, you got to work at them.
Right. Yeah. We've been
The
married 41 years, and my wife, sometimes she'll get on podcasts and participate
yeah,
with podcasts to find out what I'm thinking, because
sure.
I tend to go ahead and be more open and transparent,
Oh, that's
you know,
funny.
on a
Yeah,
podcast where 8 billion people could see it than I am. So there is some thought on that.
yeah,
Like I'm not revealing anything here, but if you've been married over 40 years, you might go and say, oh, that's a pretty slick trick that he's got.
right,
Because if I expose a vulnerability or weakness in our marriage on a podcast, she's actually really nice about it.
right.
If
I
it's
got I got to tell you something else here. That what I found, what we in fact we just talked about this weekend because we had a conversation about some things. But with my son, his wife, and my two grand boys, 17 and 14, living with us, she just caters to them, which I'm great with that. But we tend to have a gap because we used to have date night here and there, and then we realized we really haven't. Not saying we don't go out, but it seems like we're always with the kids or grandkids or something, and never just her and I. And so that's very important to keep up on. And life gets in the way, and this is a part of it. We just need to work our way through that. One thing I wanted to say before I forget, Mark, because you said something about you feel or not act, but you like a 3-year-old or something.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Well, that reminds me, that's who Jesus wanted to be with.
right.
Yeah,
The young children.
that's right. Um, and shoot, I think there's something in the scripture, something about you got to be like a child
Right.
to make
Enter
it
into
there.
heaven. Like it's
Yeah, yeah,
like the
right.
faith of a child. Like it's
The faith, yeah, yeah, the faith of child. 'Cause so when you see young kids, they're so. Where we're at this weekend, we're in a cabin. We're happen to be sitting inside the time, and was between dinner or something, and this little girl comes by, and where we're at, it's a very safe place. Kids actually have freedom because everybody watches everybody. There's a creek running by here. You wouldn't think twice. The parents wouldn't think twice to tell them, no, 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 no. You know, they know other people are watching their kids. Not that they aren't concerned, but
Right.
it's ever since I'm on my, this is, I now with my grandkids is fifth generation going this
Wow.
place. So it's been that way when I was a kid, little kid, and that's why we loved it. My my kids loved it that way. My grandkids now love it that way. And my point is, okay, she comes by and she looks in the screen, and I happen to be looking right there. She goes, "Hi." And I said, "Well, hi." I go, "What's your name?" And she tells me. She's just like she should be doing this podcast. You know, I'm like, holy cow. But kids
Hey,
are great. I love that part of them. You know, they're so
right.
innocent.
Right. Well, I just finished writing a song for my 6-year-old granddaughter, Micaiah. And it's interesting because when she was three, we were going on it. She loves going on adventures with Grandpa.
Sure.
And so she was three. So that was 3 years ago, and we were walking downtown Shipshe actually, and she says, "Grandpa, Grandpa, I have an idea about an adventure." So 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 now there's this. Now she's six. Now I there's a whole new word, and that's a lot of the song is about. An idea
Oh,
is much better than an idea. An idea is an
sure.
idea. An idea has energy and passion, and it's like we're going to do this,
That's
and it's
right.
and it's weird because it doesn't have to be big at that age. It's going
No,
outside. It's going out. I mean, everything's an adventure. Everything's new and exciting, and it's like,
that's right.
what if we all had, that childlike, attitude, that
Right.
childlike perspective to be able to do it. And so, Mike, any other closing comments, questions, thoughts?
Uh, no, just save that word for your granddaughter because my granddaughter, she was my special one. She'd sit on my lap all the time when they'd come over, and now she's as tall as I am because plays volleyball. She'll be taller than me probably. So we can't really do that. But her name's Brinley. I nicknamed her Bins, so I always call her Bins. And so I'm never going to stop doing that. In fact, I usually like to do it when she's with a guy or something
Right,
around that. I like to embarrass her. So I don't know. I just try. I guess closing. I just like to make life fun if I can, uh,
right.
and that's pickleball's been a lot of fun.
It
So
really is. It's
yeah,
the
yeah,
connections you make, and
right,
how everything's interconnected, and you can go into a strange place, don't know anybody, start playing,
right.
and all of a sudden all these people you get to know these. And that's really about pickleball changed, my life, our life, my wife and I's. And the kids are starting to get into it, the grandkids are starting to get into it. It's a lot of fun. So if you're interested in doing an interview, connect with the individual who passed this along to you, or you can call toll free 888-230-2300, outside the US 630-393-9909. If you're not interested in doing it, it's even more important that you do it. Like, take a little risk. It's like you do the podcast, and worst case scenario, you don't like it, and you just say, I'd rather not use it, and then you don't have to use it. It's fun. I mean, it's neat. I think, as Mike and I, another 10 years, another 20 years, are our grandkids going to look back on this when they're 20 or 30 or 40 years old? My
Right.
grandfather died when I was 9, and
Mm.
it's interesting, when I was 40, it hit me so hard, and I only saw him 5 times in my life.
Well,
And so he and I weren't close from that perspective, but they say that he had a personality similar to mine, which is a little bit direct, and sometimes people don't like that. So at
yeah.
40, I'm like, man, I wish Grandpa Boersma was here, because I think he would
Uh,
understand, some of the things that
sure.
I'm going through right now, because I don't feel like I'm understood by very many people, but I think Grandpa Boersma would. So hopefully this has been helpful to all of you. And if you go ahead and see Mike on the pickleball court, hey, I saw your podcast. That was really cool. Your background is really neat as well. And
Thanks.
always remember, we can accomplish so much more together than we ever can on our own. Have an amazing day. Bye bye.
Bye.